Murphy was very unlucky. If he was playing doctors and nurses, he'd be the ambulance driver. He was in the pub on Friday. This bloke came over, he'd no arms. He said, Mick, will you play us a game of darts? He said, how are you going to play darts? He said, put the darts in my mouth. Now, throw the board at me. They're walking down the street and there's a whole gang of people running up the street. He said to this fellow, what's going on? He said, oh, a lion has escaped from the Dublin Zoo. He said, which way did it go? He said, you don't think we're chasing it, do you? This fellow walked into a pub in Manchester and the barman said, looks like rain, Mick, doesn't it? Oh, it does indeed, and you're still charging £2 a pint for it. There was a whole crowd of lads sat in the corner and the waiter came over with the order of drinks and he was one drink short. But he said, Jesus, if there's a pint missing, I always get it. This lad came in off the street, went up to the bar and said, a pint of Guinness. And the bloke at the far end says, are you Irish? He said, aye. He said, I'm Irish myself, I'll buy you that pint. Whereabouts are you from? He said, Dublin. He said, that's where I come from. He said, I'll have a pint with you. Whereabouts in Dublin? He said, Finglas. He said, my God, so do I come from Finglas. He said, 2 halves of whiskey as well. Whereabouts in Finglas? He says, Parkfield Road. He says, my God. He said, that's where I live, Parkfield Road as well. He said, make them large whiskies. What number? He says, 29. He said, my God, I was born at number 29. Got into a great conversation and the barman walked through to the lounge and the landlord says, who's in the bar tonight, Mick? He said, just the Murphy twins. Murphy got a book out of the library last week. It was 100 Ways to Make Love and he ended up in hospital in traction. It was a misprint. He was in the pub on Friday. He said, a glass of orange. The barman said, still orange? Oh, yes, I haven't changed my mind. And you want to see the pub grub menu. Fractured spare ribs. Broken leg of lamb. Bruised kidneys. Mick says, Sean, do you want to buy a ticket for the All-Ireland final? He said, how much are they? He said, they're £45. He says, God, you get a woman for that. He says, you won't get 45 minutes each way and a brass band in the middle, he said. Mick went at the Piccadilly station in Manchester. He said, a ticket to London. A bloke said, £25 change at crew. He said, I want me change here. Paddy said, listen, Mick, if Sean comes in tonight, tell him I've gone down to the Chinese restaurant. He said, all right, Mick. He said, what'll I tell him if he doesn't come in? He had a meal in this Chinese restaurant and he called the waiter over. He said, that chicken tastes rubbery. He said, oh, thanks very much. Having a quiz tonight in the pub, and the barman said to Mick, what's 3 trees? He said, divide by 4, subtract 2. He said, 108. He said, you're stupid. He said, thanks very much. Eamon, what's 3 trees? Eamon said, 3 trees is Wednesday. Paddy, in the name of God, what's 3 trees? He said, 3 trees is 9. He said, good man, Pat. How did you get 9? He said, well, I subtracted Wednesday from 108. They had a big ball last month in Hollywood to mark 25 years of Star Trek, and all the stars are asked to come as one of the characters. Sean Connery, he came there dressed in the kilt and the sporran and said, I'm Scotty the engineer. Roger Moore, he came dressed with the big ears pinned on the side of his face. He said, I'm Mr. Spock. Peter O'Toole, the great Irish actor, he arrived dressed as a tree trunk. He said, who are you? He said, I am the captain's log. Mick said to his daddy, Daddy, did I go on honeymoon with you? He said, you went with me, but you came back with your mother. Murphy went into the big army and navy stores in Dublin and said, have you got any of them camouflage jackets? And the guy says, thousands, but we can't find them. He stuck a gun in the fella's face and said, give me the money or your geography. And the guy said, don't you mean history? He said, don't change the subject. My wife drove me here tonight. I just sat behind the wheel and steered. Murphy was walking down the village street with the front door under his arm. I said, where are you going with that? He said, I've lost the key. I said, you better not lose the door or you won't get in again. He said, I've left the window open. Went into the shop. He said, pound of Irish bacon, please. The girl says, lean back. He said, right you are. And a packet of nails. He said, how long do you want the nails? He said, I want to keep them. He was coming home to the pub the other night and he saved a fellow from drowning in the river. He was a great swimmer. He used to be a postman in Venice. He said, how did you come to fall in? He said, I didn't come to fall in. I came to fish and I fell in. Well, what's your name and I'll tell your mother? He said, me mother knows me name. When he got home, his wife said, what do you mean? She said, coming over at this hour of the night, half drunk. He said, I ran out of money. She said, I'm telling you now, Nick, if you stayed home with me one night, she said, I think I died in the shock. He said, don't try to bribe me. And before you come up to bed tonight, go into the sitting room and unplug the electric fire. You've had it plugged in for a week. That must be costing us a fortune. He said, Mary, it doesn't cost us a penny. I borrowed it from a pal at work.